Hi, today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Oregon Trail and some of the words, the vocabulary that you might see as you're studying about the trail. I have a standard that we're working on together. Determine the meaning of general academic and domain specific words or phrases in a text relevant to a grade 4 topic or subject area. So that's what we'll be doing today. Today we're going to be reading in this book called Moving Out West, and I have provided a link for that so everyone, if they would like, could copy it and create a little booklet and have it forevermore, reading it over and over again if you'd like. Here's our list of vocabulary words that we'll look at today. Claim, cholera, debt, utensils, yoke, oxen, livestock, encouraged. Let's get started. Beginning in 1840, hundreds of people gathered in Independence, Missouri to head west on the Oregon Trail. This trail was about 2,000 miles long. The people traveled in covered wagons. During this time, the United States government encouraged people to move west. They promised people free land. Big families who had large amounts of debt were excited about this deal because they couldn't afford land of their own to support their families. Let's look at those two words, encouraged and debt. Encouraged means to make someone more hopeful or likely to do something. So if you get encouraged to participate in a birthday party event or encouraged to try something new, that means that you are more hopeful or more likely to be someone that would try something, okay? So the United States government encourage them to move west. Okay, so they encouraged by saying, this is a wonderful place to be. We'll give you land and you will grow to be prosperous. The other word in here is debt. You've probably heard this word before. Debt is having little or no money because you owe it to someone. Okay, so if you have a great deal of debt, it means you owe a lot of money to someone or something, okay? If you have very little debt, it means that you don't owe very much to anyone else, okay? But these folks that were most encouraged to go toward the west were people that had higher debt. They were encouraged and excited because they could go west and get some land. So that was a great opportunity for them. Before heading westward, families had to sell all of their belongings. Can you imagine that? It cost about $600 to buy supplies for the trip. Some of the supplies families needed were pots, pans, utensils, clothing, blankets, and food. Families usually kept their belongings in a trunk in the wagon. Okay, let's look at that word utensils. Maybe you've heard it before. Those are tools that are used to eat or to do kitchen tasks. So a utensil would be something like a fork. So they needed utensils to be able to eat their food along the way. The journey west took about 6 months. The wagons were pulled by oxen. The trail took families through prairies, mountains, valleys, and rivers. Most of the time, people walked next to their wagon, unless they were tired or sick. The trail was bumpy and rough. At night, the wagons would form a circle shape to keep their livestock from running away. Okay, let's look at oxen and livestock. Let's see, oxen is an animal that was used to pull the covered wagons. And they used everything from really cows to horses, all kinds of animals to help them pull the wagon, because their goal was to get there as easy as they could. Also, livestock. Where's livestock? Right there. Those are the farm animals that are raised, used, and kept by people. So a livestock example might be something like a chicken that produces eggs, a goat that could produce milk. The livestock that they had was very important to them because it provided food, and they had to keep it safe, especially at night when they were sleeping. So they circled the wagons. They came together in a circle and protected the animals on the inside. Each morning on the trail started very early. Women cooked a breakfast of bacon and bread while the men hooked up the oxen to the yoke on the front of the wagon. During lunch, the men would hunt buffalo and other animals. For dinner, they would eat meat and beans. Meals were cooked over a fire. Let's look at that next word, yoke. Yoke was the bar or frame that was attached to the head or the neck of the animal that was pulling the wagon. That's called the yoke. The journey west was a very difficult one. Many of the people became ill from diseases such as cholera. Cholera was caused from polluted water and dirty conditions. There were also many injuries caused by gunshot wounds and drowning when trying to cross rivers. In addition to illness and injury, the weather made travel hard. The extreme heat and bitter cold were challenging to all. Let's look at cholera. It's pretty clear what it is here. It talks about diseases such as cholera. So we know right away it's a disease. Cholera, a serious disease that causes death. So unfortunately, people got so sick that they just could not even survive. There were hardly any medical supplies or even people that understood medicine that were with their wagons to help them when they were ill. When the travelers arrived in Oregon, they settled and began their new life. They were given 1 square mile of free land, but they had to stake a claim by building a house on it. Okay, so let's look at claim. To say something belongs to you. So they had to stake a claim on the new land that was given to them. And that means that they just had to say that something belonged to them by placing a house on it. So the first thing they had to do was build a house. Imagine that. You've traveled over 2,000 miles, sometimes walking up to 15 miles a day. You're tired. You may have even been sick along the way and you just don't even feel well. And now it's time to build a house. That was hard for all of them for so many reasons. Let's think about a couple questions before we leave today. What were 2 challenges that people on the trail faced? Think about all the things that you've read and heard about the Oregon Trail. What were 2 challenges that they faced? There were so many. How can you even choose, right? And what encouraged people to move west? Why? Why would they even do it if it was so hard, so far away? People died along the way. It was so hard. Why would they do it? Okay, so think about those questions. Be ready to share on your response and keep learning about the Oregon Trail. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.